All right. I'm on. This has been like a million years since I've done this. So we're just gonna see. Let me, I guess, alert the world that I'm on. And I need to find the YouTube link again. Okay, so now we're just chilling, vibing, waiting. Ooh, I see a person. Right, that there is a person. Hello, person. I think maybe I can tilt this over a little bit more up there. Now I'm like slightly more centered. Goose, are you gonna help me, buddy? I probably should have given the world a little bit more, like, advance notice that I was going to do this, but YouTube Studio also looks like way more different than how it used to. Feffy, hi! Hi. I am so happy that you're here. Thank you for being first on the thingy. Yeah, so I'm just gonna wait just a little bit longer, and then I think we'll get started. I don't know, it's been a while since I've done this, so I have no freaking idea what to do. But how are you? There, that's a good place to start. See, pulling up my knitting patterns as well. Okay. I heard my neighbors outside, so Oh, I'm gonna have to learn a new technique live on stream. Okay. So I'll go ahead and share what I am working on right now. I'm using this live stream as a way of holding myself accountable for finishing this hat that I started 2 weeks ago that I just didn't want to like do the crown shaping of. Oh, I would love to be a blanket burrito right now. Honestly, like I don't enjoy cold weather, but it's been like 95 degrees here on a regular basis in Baltimore. And that hasn't been a particularly fun time. Like, I had to leave the house today for work, and now, like, I have a sun allergy. You can't see it so much on camera, but like all over my arms, just hot, toasty, itchy, all of that fun stuff. So, um, yeah, I actually really love our neighbors. We get along great. It's just like it's not so much that anyone is like noisy. It's just our like walls are so thin, and like I'm right by a window too. I'm also gonna like try and close out all of my tabs and stuff. So eh, it's still a little glary, but maybe if I make this bigger, then it'll look slightly less terrible. We should be going into night mode soon, I would think. I don't know, a little better, but only when I look like this. So this is how I'm gonna look. So I have 2 knitting projects I'm currently working on. One is I really want to just finish it because I've been working on a sweater for like about 6 weeks now, and I'm making good progress on that. But about halfway through, I decided like I want to knit a hat because it would just like give me a little bit of instant gratification because this year is my year of garment knitting. Um, and like it's all things that I'm going to wear all the time, but at the same time it takes a while to do anything. So I'm knitting this hat. This is the Hat and Peak by Maxim Cyr, Max the Knitter. I have all my stitch markers so I can count all my decreases, but I don't need them anymore. And I just need to finish the crown shaping. So I'm very excited. I did make some modifications to it. For example, it comes with a pom-pom, like it says to put a pom-pom on top with all the leftover yarn. And while I do enjoy how it like, I'll pull up the pattern so you can kind of see. Here, if you can see on my phone a little bit, that's what the like final product looks like. And I think it's really cute. However, I prefer a more like beanie style, less formal hat. I get a lot more use out of that than a big, puffy, big wintry hat. So I decided to not do a folded brim, and I'm not feeling super pom-pommy with this. However, I have a lot of leftover yarn. Like there's like this much in all the different colors. So I think I'm going to make myself like some matching like fingerless gloves or something. There's no pattern for the designer has like a series of things in kind of like this pattern, but he doesn't have like fingerless gloves or anything like that. So I think I'm gonna either just do a pair of like plain stripy ones or see if I can finagle the like charts from this pattern into a little thing. We'll see. So yeah, 95 is close to fainting for me as well. I have been having some fun dizzy things happening in like the last year or so. So I've not fainted, just like felt really. I Dan Howell on YouTube He once described the summer feeling that I get all the time as like baked potato-y, and that's exactly how I feel. Like I look fine and normal on the outside, but the inside is just mush. Yeah. Yes, a pom-pom mood. I could, so here's the thing, right? I'm gonna just pop this on my head and see if I even want to do any more decreasing, or if I just want to, like, you know. Oh, this is where I'm also discovering that I should probably, like, stretch this out a little bit. I'm gonna have to block this, but yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna close it up here because I think that'll give me a perfectly fine shape. I know it won't be like, I know it's not necessarily like best practice for hats to have like that much of a gap, but like, it'll be fine. Like, the designer's not gonna know unless he watches this live stream. Probably won't. But, and I do love the designer. He makes a lot of really cute things, and I definitely want to like knit more. So here, we're just gonna break off this yarn because I did not think to bring scissors over. Yeah. But yeah, I think matching gloves to go with it would be a good like happy medium, because I did buy a lot of yarn for this. Like, I bought all 4 of the colors new, and while they were definitely on sale, so that's fine. But I also like don't want any of it to go to waste. Also, look, I have a little axolotl stitch marker. My stitch markers on this are so cute. So I have axolotl, and then I have little cat paws. So the axolotl, it's technically a dinosaur, but I talked with the person who like made the stitch markers, because I got a whole bunch of stitch markers at Frederick Fiberfest. And so this guy is from a company called Black Pearl Magic, PURL, and I love her work. I met the owner at Frederick Fiberfest. She is so sweet. And she has a lot of cute little stitch markers. But she was like, yeah, I bought a whole bunch of like little dinosaur charms, but I thought they looked like axolotls. So that's where that came from. And then the little cat paws come from Fangirl Fibers, which I almost bought some of her yarn too, but I was running out of like, I've been trying to like buy intentionally for like projects and stuff this year, so I'm not like overwhelmed. You know, when I do buy yarn, which is largely like at yarn festivals or when shit goes on sale, which is not often, at least not the stuff that I want anyway. Or like if I have a gift card for stuff, because I've been knitting since I was 9. I have a lot of yarn, y'all. So yes, I think a lot of designers understand that adaptability as well, which is something that I really appreciate. For example, last year I made, actually, let me pull through some of these stitches and then I'll show it. But I made the Shawlography shawl by Stephen West, who he is one of my favorite designers. He has these wild out there, loud, funky designs. Yes, I do have it behind me. And this is like my second attempt at knitting it. It turned out so nice, but I did cut out an entire section of it because I was finding it way too tedious to knit. But the designer, and he's like one of the biggest knitting designers like ever. I still have to weave in the ends for this. I've worn it a million times and I haven't woven in the ends. But so here's the shawl. This is like my favorite thing I've ever knitted, ever. It's so wonderful and like lightweight and loud and funky and versatile for all seasons. But let's see, the in between this section and this section was originally intended to have like these little like crosshatch sections. And I had to like cut it out and redo it like 3 times, to the point where I was like, I am giving up, actually. on doing this. So I just made sure, like, okay, I have the same amount of stitches as I would need in order to do this, because basically you like start up here with like 6 stitches, and then it eventually expands to like 400 and some. But yeah. And anyway, he liked all of my shawlography posts. So I assume that most designers are actually pretty cool with like making modifications. I watch a lot of Andrea Mallory's videos, and she's also another knitting designer who I love, and she always talks about like, yeah, it's totally okay to like make modifications, because she's like, yeah, I know I knit for, like I make designs that I would like and I would wear, but I also know I'm not like, everybody has like a different body shape and things like that. And I find her patterns to be really adaptable too. Yeah. Yeah, but that's my favorite shawl that I've ever knit. It's a very fun time. So I'm just picking up all of these, and I can't wait for it to be beanie season. This is all just like, I'm pretty certain this is all like 100% wool yarn. This is like Barocco. This is one of their like sport weight yarns. Yeah, I think I should have gone down another needle size for the ribbing, but otherwise I'm all right here, I think. Or I could have probably stood to have gone up another needle size for like the actual hat portion of it. Because I always forget that when I do color work, I tend to have a very loose gauge in most of my knitting. So I either go down a needle size, or I go up a size, or go down like a size of what the designer kind of like intended, if I want things to kind of fit well. I know I should gauge swatch. I don't. Don't worry, all of my knitting friends have yelled at me about that. And gauge swatching is basically where you just like knit a little square and see like, okay, am I getting the right amount of like stitches per inch and stuff like that. But I've never done that. And I've been knitting since I was 9, and things generally turn out all right. So it's not best practice, but it is what I do. But I am noticing like when I tried it on that it is a little bit tight, and my knits are always like, when I do color work, they're a lot more stranded color work specifically. It's a lot tighter, but it is what it is. I think like it'll fit, and that's what matters to me. So even if it is a little bit tight. Okay. So now for the fun part, closing up the hole. Just want to make sure that y'all can like see it. Woo! We did it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where a little bit more crown shaping would be fine, but yeah. Okay, so now I just have to sew up the little top bit, which also I probably wouldn't have had to do if I had simply bought a set of double pointed needles, but not doing that at all. Yeah. Yes, making modifications does require a bit of calculation, which is like totally fine. I'm saying like I tend to like when I buy like garment patterns or stuff, or when I find garment patterns, I try to look for folks with similar body types. To me, I tend to go, there are very few straight size designers that I buy their sweater patterns for, because the one time I did buy a straight size pattern for a sweater that the designer has since become more size inclusive. However, that pattern itself was not size inclusive. And I'm not shitting on the designer herself. She's a wonderful designer. But I bought one that only went up to like a 2X because I really liked how the sweater looked. And like I was the largest size. I did not care for how it looked on me because she was a very like small, straight up and down person. And I could tell that she, like, at that point in her career, did not have experience in like designing things with shaping for different body types. And yeah, so instead I buy from I try and go for a lot of like plus size designers, because I feel like they already know I have to, and I can make like fewer modifications. But that's just me. Although I will say I am knitting the sweater, which I'll show in just a minute once I finish weaving in my ends. Once I that's made by, it's an Andrea Mowry sweater, but since she talks a lot about like, you know, all the things you can do to modify your patterns, she has this like super educational like knitting podcast that comes out every Friday that I always listen to, where she answers folks' questions about like just in general knitting, spinning, anything you could ever need to know. I'm like, okay, I trust you. Plus she has like, I feel like she test knits with a lot of plus size folks. And so I can always know like what it's going to look like on my body type before I buy the pattern. But ta-da, we have a little finished hat. I'm going to have to trim let's check these floats. Yeah, actually that's super satisfying. That's super satisfying too. I never thought that I was like super great at carrying floats, but like this isn't too bad. I'm gonna trim all of that later once I actually have scissors. But let's put it on. Oh yeah, that's gonna be cozy as shit for the winter. Oh yeah. Cozy hat. Not gonna keep it on right now though, because it is too hot. It is a little bit itchy, so I'm wondering if like once I block it with a little bit of like the peppermint soap that I use, if that's gonna maybe help out that part a little bit. So let me put all my stitch markers. I found these little things, these little like containers in Michael's for like $3 for a set of 3. And they've been so integral in keeping all my stitch markers and stuff together. Because I lose things. I used to keep it all together in like one big kind of like organizer thing, but I've lost that organizer so much. So, but weirdly, I don't lose these. So, yeah. Yeah, so let's introduce the sweater that I'm working on. I only just split for like, so it's a bottom up, so I work it from the waist up. A lot of sweaters are more like a top down type of situation where you start at the neck and go down. But this is a bottom up, and I just split for like the underarm shaping, so I'm working on like the front panel now. And this is the tessellated pullover by Andrea Mowry, the aforementioned awesome person that I enjoy. This, you can kind of see where I joined the yarn like here where I started a new skein, but that's going to block out. It's going to be fine. But yeah, I just split for the top shaping literally like today. I think let me see, for anyone who is interested in knitting this one, it's super easy, fun. It's 3-color mosaic knitting. And if you've never done color work knitting, mosaic is such a good way of getting into it because you only have to handle one color of yarn at a time, like per row. Yeah, I'm making this in the size 5, and I have and like I'm generally like a size like 16 in like women's clothing. So if you want to know, like that's how that's going. But I'll show, let's see, I'll show you what the intended finished project looks like. So this is her modeling hers on the project page. I have a fun little Ravelry app where I keep all my knitting patterns. But I saw her make this. And well, as soon as it came out, I was like, I need to make this. And then I saw Casey from Young Folk Knits knitting it. And I love all of her. work. But yeah, I you can see like on the project page, she has like a wide variety of people um, in different ones, and a lot of folks are using like color fading yarn, which I had originally thought to do, but I thought it would be really fun to do just like a black white with a pop. Um, so the black and the white are just some Cascade 220 Sport cheap black and white yarns. But then I got this at Frederick Fiberfest. This is from Wool and Vinyl, which is one of my favorite indie yarn companies. I always like to get a little something from them every year because they do all like music themed yarn. And this is in the color Cheap Sunglasses, which obviously. And I wanted it to just like have a little pop of neon in it. And what I like about it is the way that the mohair kind of fades over top of the black and the white, kind of makes it almost look a little bit more like Beetlejuicy, a little green. Um, which is definitely more my speed. I think if it turned out like this, I might like it a little bit less, but since it is layered over top, they did have like a neon green um, mohair that I was almost considering, but I felt like it might not have like the same fun contrast there. I've also realized like the colors look very like Tuxedo Cat y, which, as we all know, I have Goose and Ivy. So yeah, I am very excited for this. I've been wanting to make this ever since the pattern came out like end of last year. So it is very tedious. This is one of the sweaters that it's taken me a bit longer to make, but um, I know that it is going to be worth it. I've made more tedious projects before that I have ended up wearing a lot less. So, for example, the old brioche knit sweater that I made in fingering weight yarn 3 years ago that I have worn like 5 times. And it does look like a little tennis ball. Like I have every time I look at it, I'm like, yep, tennis ball. But this is like real mohair. This is the first time I'm ever working with real mohair. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I like how it looks. I like how the project is going to turn out. I feel like I am going to have to lint roll the shit out of this sweater. Um, hello, Jennifer. How are you? We're just getting into some sweater knitting here. Just kind of chilling and hanging out, and I'm info dumping about knitting. But yeah, it matches Goose and Ivy. After, if I have any leftover yarn, I would like to knit Goose a little matching sweater. I don't know if I will have leftover yarn. We'll see. I hope I do. So that'll be cute. And I've heard, I haven't, no, that's not true. I knitted one of Andrea Mowry's hoodies for Casey for Christmas. And I did end up having like a lot of leftover yarn from that. So, and I've heard from other folks that like they do too when they knit her patterns. So here's hoping. I think Goose would look cute in a little tessellated sweater. Yeah. She's made this pattern into like a series too, where I know she has like a little vest, a cardigan, a hat. I would have almost considered making the cardigan if it had come out when I had like bought the pattern to do this, but unfortunately it was released like a couple weeks after I had started this. But the cardigan's pretty cute too. Honestly, I feel like I need to own more hand knit cardigans with the amount of cardigans that I like wear in my life. Like I definitely wear more cardigans like in my day-to-day life because I feel like they're a bit more versatile. I am working on knitting one. I just put it down though because it was getting very tedious and frustrating. Because it's going to be an all black faux mohair cardigan. And I'm going to wear it so much and it's going to be wonderful. And I'm going to get so much good use out of it. But Jesus Christ, I didn't realize that there was like a lateral braid that I would have to knit, which I think would be fine if I was using a normal yarn. Um, but black foam mohair does not lend itself well to that sort of a thing. So that is in timeout for now, so I can knit some more satisfying, easy things. Yeah. I honestly, what I want to do with like a lot of my sweater leftovers is just knit little matching goose sweaters, because I think he's about the only cat that would tolerate um matching sweaters, because he's like, well, at least I'm getting attention. um Whereas the others are like, you know, they fight back. um mm. Goose, did I hear you? Oh, Goose is under the desk, and I think he's been there for a while. Goose is giving Samurai Game Changer, I've been here the whole time. Um, which is funny because Goose is not one for subtlety, literally ever. Okay. But yeah, I want to use all of like my sweater leftovers to make him little matching sweaters, because that would just be so cute. And none of the other cats would enjoy that at all. Maybe Jacques. Jacques puts up with a lot from me. Like, Goose actively enjoys being held. Um, but and Jacques will like tolerate it and like kind of like I guess if you need this hug, human, I'll do it. But it's okay. You don't have to know how to knit. We're just chilling here. Honestly. Um I don't know how well I'm doing with this stream, honestly, because um it's been so long since I've done anything at all on the internet. Uh so I also felt like this would be a good way to just like hold myself accountable to like actually working on my knitting projects instead of playing little mini games on my phone. Because there's been a lot of that while like watching YouTube videos and stuff the last few weeks, which is like fine, but you know. So I am appreciating how quickly this portion is going, that I've been able to make like this much progress in like a day. Because I felt like the body portion was taking so long. I put in like little stitch markers every Friday to just like help me like track my progress, because sometimes I feel like when you're knitting the same thing um for like big portions where you don't have to do a lot of like increasing, decreasing, or like anything like interesting between the things. So it can just get very boring. So that's how I keep myself from getting too terribly distracted. I think Jacques really would look handsome in a sweater. I think he could be convinced. Um, like he tolerates many things for me. Um, I can try to show you um, via this live stream. So I'll show you the stitch pattern that I'm doing now. I'm doing a purl stitch right now because I'm working on the wrong side of it. So you're seeing the right side. The side that's facing me is the wrong side. This is going to be like the inside portion. So essentially, what this entire pattern is just slip two, knit two, or slip two, purl two. So I'll show you a slip stitch. So since we're working with the white yarn only, I also know I'm not the greatest teacher, so I'm going to do my best here. I promise. Okay. Um, so since we're working with just the white yarn, we want to, until the end of the row, only knit the little white stitches that you see. And then on the next row, we'll go and knit every stitch in the black yarn. It like makes sense as you kind of see the fabric work up. So we're doing a slip two, purl two. So literally we just take these two stitches, Let's see, I'm trying to make sure I can, yeah, these 2 stitches right here, we're going to slip them from the left, my left, your right, to my right, your left. And then you see that the next 2 stitches are white stitches. So we're going to purl those because a purl is a reverse of a knit, and we're working on the reverse side of the sweater. So this is all going to be backwards because just of how the camera is doing the mirroring. And you, the way I heard it is like stab it, strangle it, choke it, throw it off a cliff. So you take the murderous method, if you will, with the stitches. That might get me demonetized. I don't know. Yes. Well, it's the thing is, I'm bad at teaching anything. um, like, I'm just not good at explaining things in a way that makes sense to other people. Or at least I've been told. All of my things make sense to me and me alone, I think. But yeah, so we'll do it again. Stab it. Or wait, let me see. Actually, maybe if I like. Okay. I'll show you like this. Okay. Nope. Where? There. Kind of. Okay. So stab it. Strangle it. Choke it. And then throw it off the cliff. And then so we slip 2 more. Okay. Stab it. Choke it. Strangle it. Pull it off a cliff. I feel like that last one was very like bop it, pull it, twist it, you know. So I'll do one more like this. I don't think that any of this is particularly making sense. I'll also just really quick. Let's see. I'm going to show you this, drop a YouTube channel that has a lot of good tutorials. Very Pink Knits. They have tutorials for literally everything. But let's do one more like this, and then I'll kind of just work to the end of the row because that's just kind of purling. Stab it, strangle it, choke it, pull it off a cliff. But yeah, that's how you purl, and then basically knitting is the reverse of that. I learned to knit from my Nana, and then I figured out how to purl on my own. So yes. Yeah, because I feel like, so for me, I think part of the thing that I struggle with like a teaching method is that I learn from like physically just like watching the thing happen. Like looking at diagrams, watching the video, I don't quite pay attention to like what, if like it's a video tutorial, I don't really pay attention to like what the person is telling me to do. I just like watch the motions of like what they're doing with the yarn, and I kind of like figure things out that way. That's how I figure out a lot of like crafting related things. Like the only like way that I don't is like if I'm like reading a recipe or something. But I think that's a little bit more obvious because you like have to know the measurements and stuff. So I recognize that like my teaching methods aren't necessarily going to be helpful there. But if you're in Baltimore, Maryland, my local yarn shop, Lovely Yarns, has a lot of really great learning to knit classes and a lot of really great learning how to crochet classes. So my friend Melissa owns a shop, and she is wonderful and helpful and teaches all the things. But yeah. Yeah, that was a very crappy short knitting tutorial for Alex. Uh, I'm trying. I'm trying, y'all. uh, yeah. Sometimes you just like immerse your stuff in yourself in like the thing that you're trying to learn, you know? Okay. Reaching towards the end of the row. Still recovering from a bit of bronchitis, by the way, so if I sound terrible, that's why. Um my immune system just like screwed me over this Pride Month. I got the flu on May 30th. It lasted 2 weeks. Then I developed bronchitis from that. That has lasted until it's gotten better. I went to the doctor. They gave me like 3 different drugs for it. Um and it has improved, but it's still lingering. Yes, I completely understand that. That's actually one of the things that I really like about the my local yarn shop is that they are very like hands-on. They're very like accessibility inclusive. Um like we have a few folks in our knitting group who are visually impaired, and so like teaching those methods is really helpful. Like they teach you in like multiple different ways. So, yeah. Yeah. I think it's good to find like sadly not every crafting space is like inclusive, but I feel like I found a really good one, you know. Okay. So now we're going to switch over to the black yarn. So I have to keep the mohair when I'm working with one of the non-mohair yarns. I have to keep the mohair away from them, or else it just like gets tangled and stuck because mohair likes to stick to everything. So let's see. See, this is the really fun part where you just have to, because I'm working on the front part and I have to keep the back portion on a barber cord. It requires a lot more like ugh, moving, twisting, bop it, pull it, twist it, you know? Um, so yeah. So now we're working just with the black yarn. And the fun part of that is you just have to knit all the way across. It's easy. And that's why I like um mosaic knitting a lot. Because it's just slipping and knitting. Instead of having to like with the hat, for example, that I was knitting, in order to get all of the little like you see like how the strands kind of go across there, I kept having to like catch my floats. Like I would have to hold multiple things of yarn like in different hands and all of that, and I think that can be very fun at times. But sometimes it's just easier to only have to manage one. Yeah. But yeah, my immune system was homophobic during Pride Month. What else is new? Yeah, I'm still stuffy. Um, cute and fluffy, but a little problematic, just like me. And Goose. I have to remember to relax my shoulders a lot while I'm knitting. It's a scoliosis. But I've also heard a lot of people do that. I remember watching Stephen West, the shawl guy. He does YouTube videos sometimes too. And I was watching his channel and he was asking like, okay, how do you like keep from getting like shoulder and neck pain while you're knitting? He has these 2 little French bulldogs named Brioche and Stitch. And he was like, they cuddle on either side of me and I put my elbows on top of them and I knit from there. So he's like, if you don't have French bulldogs, get pillows or something. But that's how I learned to relax my shoulders, is by cuddling with my dogs. And I think that is the best knitting technique. And he also makes a lot of dog sweaters. He has like a whole pet sweater collection that I kind of want to buy so I can knit them for my critters. Or at least Goose. Possibly Jacques. If he'll allow it. We'll see. I'm drinking some chai tea. In my unofficial Target Our Flag Means Death mug that the fandom collectively decided was Our Flag Means Death coded. Which, like, yeah. It says wild and free on the inside. But are any of us wild and free under the confines of capitalism? I don't know, I'm feeling a little silly. Let's see. Is there anything else I could like talk about? Because I realized I planned absolutely no conversation topics for this beyond knitting. I don't know. I could, since this is a knitting stream, I could pull up like I have a little Ravelry bundle of all my like 2024 knitting plans. I've made it about halfway through. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of the things this year because I have one of them is the, actually I'll show you the cardigan that I'm knitting that is in timeout. It's this that I'm knitting in all black. It's going to look so nice and so lovely. But you see how there's like the little ribby parts there. Yeah. It's not though it looks so good and it's going to look great, but it's so hard to do with the yarn that I chose. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that like I don't know. I feel like I've done like a lot of physical therapy throughout my life for all my various like aches and pains and stuff. I feel like I need to stretch more, but on another hand, I've heard so many doctors tell me that like, hey, actually, you're really hypermobile. So like maybe stretch less. I'm like, what do I do? Everyone's telling me to stretch. Sometimes they don't tell me to stretch. What do I do? Maybe it's about learning how to stretch in the right way or something like that that I don't feel like I have the energy to like actually put into. A lot of people really are hella wild. Yeah. And that has been ever so prevalent this week with the amount of fireworks that I've fucking heard from the 4th of July. Like, that was Thursday. It is Sunday. I have been getting, like, okay, I understand, like, maybe Friday fireworks or something. You know, not everyone's able to get off the 4th or whatever. I don't know. I got a long weekend out of it because I work Sunday through Thursday. And so I had Thursday off. So that was nice. But, yeah. Yeah, the Brady bits, if I were working with a yarn like this, would be totally fine and easy. But the yarn I was using is just like, so it's this, but instead of it being like natural wool, it's acrylic. So it is softer. It's more like sensitive skin friendly, but I'm using 2 strands of it and it sticks to itself a lot. So that's the issue that I'm currently having with it. I'll get through it. It'll look great. But yeah. But yeah, we've been getting a lot of fireworks and the cats have not been happy. I have not been happy. My little neurodivergent brain is not having the greatest time because also I'm not able to sleep. I am running on very little sleep this past like week or so because Casey's been away and Goose is having separation anxiety and making it everyone else's problem. I love the boy so much. He is such a sweet cat. But Casey is his human, and he loves them so much. And so every night at like 1:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, he's either like waking me up, waking the other cats up that are waking me up. And but Casey will be home tomorrow. So I think I finally like I'm gonna say this statement like really loosely. But I think I've gotten like a taste of what like parents of really young children experience. Like I'm not comparing this to any of that at all, but I'm like, oh yeah, that sleep deprivation. Um that has confirmed that choice for me. Yeah, they really do. Yeah, I remember like the only time I really did fireworks that weren't um like town sponsored or anything like that growing up, or like at a baseball game or something, was at like my rich friend's house. Because her parents had like a full ass farm and stuff. And it was real pretty. But I just remember us being like, we're probably like 9 years old. And her dad was like, go in the fireworks bucket and pick some stuff out and I'll shoot them off for you. And I was like, in retrospect, those grown-ups had been drinking all day. That was don't shoot off the fireworks yourself. Let the grown-ups who've been drinking all day do it. But that's rural America for you. And now I just hear I think the thing that bothers me too is I live outside of Baltimore City, but stuff still happens sometimes in our neighborhoods. And it's like sometimes you get to play the gunshots or fireworks game. Because there have also been the former nearby in the past. So it's like, okay, I'm going to assume that since we're on a holiday weekend that I don't need to be concerned. I know one echoes and the other doesn't, but it's a fun game to get to play like every weekend during the summer, because they're not just relegating it to holidays anymore. I've noticed it's like from Memorial Day until Labor Day, at least one day during the weekend, you're going to get fireworks of some sort. And I'm so tired. And I feel worse for our neighbors too, because they have like a little baby child. And that I feel like, yeah, the fireworks bucket. He had a big thing of fireworks that, in retrospect, like I'm still kind of friends with my friend, but like that there were some dangerous decisions made when we hung out sometimes. um, yeah. Yeah. Yep. And I'm not 100% certain they were legal fireworks either, but I was 9 and I'm 28 now, so I don't think anyone can do shit from me saying this on the internet now. Yep. Let's see, do I have any other random dangerous childhood stories? Not really. My mom was very like protective of me as a kid, so I feel like my only like dangerous-ish childhood memories come from when I was hanging out at that friend's house specifically, which is fine. um let's see. I watched Pearl for the first time last week. It was so good. I feel like I'm getting back into my horror movie era. Because last year I didn't have a lot of movies that I was particularly interested in, but this year looks like it's going to be a year for fireworks. For horror movies. Brain. And I say that, and it's July, but when Casey comes back, there's like at least 2 movies that we want to see, which we haven't been interested in movies in a bit. So, but Pearl was so good. I in both like a cinematic like ooh spooky scary type perspective, but also it's one of those few horror movies that's like made me cry like emotionally, like not from fear but out of like, oh, the depth there is very good. um so it's on Netflix in the United States. I'm not sure where else it is, but yeah, I know they're like, I I don't know, maybe it's because I don't have the urge to like set off fireworks at all that I don't know the legality of them. Okay, I can see it at like a big sports ball game because that would, I feel like that was my primary exposure to fireworks other than at my friend's house growing up, like at the local like minor league baseball team. They would um I think they would do like fireworks Fridays or something, or fireworks Saturdays or something. Was like one of the weekly games. They would always have fireworks there, where like after the game, everyone there would go out like on the field and watch them, and it was really nice. Um, but I feel like that's a very normal thing versus like just people randomly setting it off in their backyards. So I do miss going to minor league baseball games. Casey and I are going to try and catch at least one Orioles game this summer. Um, actually, okay, I'm going to look something up. So my minor league team growing up was Lynchburg Hillcats, and I'm wondering if they still do this promotion. They used to do this thing where if you came to a Wednesday night game, you'd get a ticket for next Wednesday's game for free. And I don't know if they do that same promotion. They do not do that same promotion anymore, but basically you could uh go to like one Wednesday night game for and then like not have to pay for a ticket for any other Wednesday games. And tickets were like not so much anymore, but back then they were pretty cheap, like $7, which for a baseball game is pretty good. But yeah, I was bummed because I was going to see like, oh, we're planning on moving back home soon, so would I be able to pull that off again? No, no. Okay, so just random fans in the neighborhood. Yeah, that's kind of how it is here too, especially during baseball season. Actually, because I wonder if part of the reason this summer especially has been so much is because the Orioles have actually been doing pretty good this year when it comes to like winning things. So maybe I don't know. Or maybe people are just like they just make different choices now uh than they used to. So yeah, I understand not being a horror person. That's just the only genre like that I actively like go out of my way to like find things in. So yeah. I feel like I need to pop my back really bad, but I can't. Oh, did y'all hear that one? Did y'all hear that little shoulder pop? God. Okay. So, yeah. So, I am coming up on the end of this row, and we're about to hit about an hour. So, my voice is starting to go a little bit because I am truly not used to talking for this long. I do really want to start filming more videos again. They're probably not going to be about makeup. There might be a couple, but like I wear makeup, but it is roughly like I rotate between like 3 looks. So I don't, you know, I don't know how well that'll kind of go. So, well, I'll say I don't know if I'll bring anything interesting because I'm not like super invested in most new releases nowadays. So I would like to do more knitting content, not like tutorials, but like I listen to a lot of knitting podcasts. I watch a lot of knitting podcasts, and I feel kind of like I want to make the kind of content that I want to watch, you know? So for me, that's like vlogs, crafting content, doing art stuff, talking about horror movies and like pop culture and stuff. I also have a really good idea for a video series that's going to require a lot of effort on my end, but I like that will tie in a little bit more of my theological education. But I don't want to share what it is until like I'm a lot more further down in the production process of this, which isn't going to be for several months, I think, with just kind of how my life is. But I do want to tease that I have video ideas that I fully intend on putting out there. Because, yeah, because I know, like, I know that there are some people who get upset when you're like changing your niche, and I recognize that like if you built your YouTube audience on one thing, then like if you pivot, they might not be as interested. But honestly, I really don't care. I know that like I have a lot of people who just like enjoy listening to me talk for some reason. Um yes, fuck a niche. You can always expand. And I feel like it wouldn't be fulfilling for me to continue making a type of content that I'm not like super interested in anyway. Cause like, I feel like you can tell when you see someone that's like making content that's like, I don't care about this anymore. Um, and I don't ever want to be that person. So yeah, I have a big series idea. It's gonna be like video essay-ish, very like basic basically if you went to if you're like an evangelical kid who grew up in like the late 90s through the 2000s, you will enjoy this series. So it's a very specific niche, um but the research that I'm doing um is getting me very excited for it. It's going to take a lot of time to execute because I'm actually going to script my content for once, which we all know, if you've been on here for any length of time, which you have, that I don't do. So, what I think my general plan is, I want to like do some more casual content, some vlogs, some knitting, various things like that, that can just kind of help me get into like the feeling of making content again, just kind of on a more casual basis while I'm working on a larger project kind of in the background. Um, and that way y'all can be, maybe hyped when I do the thing. Um, and that's kind of what I'm thinking of. So hopefully, like I have a Google folder of my research so far, which considering this idea has been in my head for like 2-3 years at this point, I'm just happy that I have that. Okay. I think that's my lungs way of telling me to shut up. Yes. A TV show girly, then a makeup girly, then a K-pop girly, then a media commentary girly again. Yes. Yes. Oh. Okay, this is going to be a conversation for another time, but I'm wondering, like, so I had like the evangelical pop culture, and that's kind of what the series is going to be on a little bit of. But like, the evangelical contemporary Christian music, all of that scene was like so big, and I'm always curious to see like if there are other like, you know, denominations or like religions that have like similar things, because like I think every, you know, religion, every faith has like worship music and stuff like that. Um but I feel like there's also like a little bit of like a cult of celebrity that kind of, okay, anyway, if I keep talking, I'm going to actually say what I'm going to do, and I feel like I don't want to put that out into the universe just yet. I'm not ready. um so anyway, this has been lovely. I might make this into a regular thing. We'll see. Thank you for joining me. If you're watching me on the replay, hi. um, I genuinely enjoyed this. Let's do this again sometime. And have a good night. Bye. Oh my god.